and welcome back to Opal&Mint. I am Ashley, and today I'm going to be talking all about backgrounds. So backgrounds in your watercolor painting, what do you do with them? What are the different styles of backgrounds? What do I personally like to do for my backgrounds in my watercolor paintings? I will show you some examples of some paintings that I've done, and I'm going to be showing you how I paint these backgrounds. Yeah, let's just go ahead, turn the camera around, and get to painting. Okay, so let me search for some things that I've painted that have backgrounds in them. We're going to go through kind of what they are, and then I'm going to show you how I would paint some different backgrounds. So while I'm going through these, not all paintings have to have a background. Some look beautiful with just a simple flower with nothing else. But I want to go through some of the backgrounds that I like to do when I do a background. But like some things like this, you just don't really background it. That's not really a word. And then there's some things you do, some things as simple as splattering paint around it. So we're gonna go through these and just find the ones that I want to talk about. And then we're going to end up with my favorite method of watercolor backgrounds. Okay, so let's talk about the different backgrounds real quick, and then we're going to actually start painting something. But this was just a simple monochrome, all black and white painting that I did. And this is literally just scribbling the color in the background. This, if you have never painted in just black and white, I highly suggest giving it a try, because it helps you to see the different values and the depths and the lights and in your paintings. So highly recommend trying something with just black and white, but different backgrounds. So it can be as simple as splattering some paint. So this little fox, I just at the end splatter some paint, and that kind of puts a little bit of a background on it and finishes it off. Then you have backgrounds like this that are completely covered. So you go and paint around all the objects in there, and you can tell that like I've gone over some of the petals and missed some spots. It's not absolutely perfect. But this was painted, and then it looks like I had splattered some rubbing alcohol to do some of these different effects. Again, here's just another paint splatter. I really like to do this, especially with flowers. I just do the simple flowers and then just splatter some of the colors at the end. This is one where I did the background first. So I covered the entire paper and kind of went dark to light, and then I painted the flowers on top of it. If you do go this route, just know that watercolors are transparent, so whatever your background is going to show through your flowers, depending on the colors. And then here's one where I just did a simple gradient, started with this beautiful blue and kind of faded it out into nothing. And this is another favorite that I like to do when I'm doing florals, because it looks like a picture to me. It looks like you have some out of focus. Since I am a photographer, a lot of times I think in focus. And so you have some like out of focus flowers in the background, and then you have your more detailed focus in the foreground. And again, with these, I think I did the flowers first on this one and then did the background, but just very, very light wash, throwing in some colors back there. But I think that this is a really, really good method for doing backgrounds. But my favorite, let me show you my favorite. I've done this on several different floral paintings, but I call it the drip background. If you saw my most recent video of me painting the tiger lilies, you will have seen this in action. But sometimes I do this in stages during the painting. I will put paint on it and then turn the page where it drips down. And I will do this at the beginning, I'll do it in the middle, I'll do it at the end. I like to do these, and I like to have it actually, this was one of my first ones that I did like this. I have since not perfected, but I've gotten better at what I like for the drip method. And I like having some of my flowers kind of go out into the background and blur. So like I'll drip water onto this while it's wet and kind of blur it down. But yeah, so this is my personal favorite at the moment. of doing a background on florals. But we're going to go through, I'm going to do just the most basic flower, and we're going to try it with different backgrounds. And in the end, I want you to tell me, what is your personal style? What is your personal favorite way of putting backgrounds in? So I need to pick a type of flower, and let's start painting. Okay, so I'm going to section this paper off into 4 different quadrants, and today I'm going to be using the Legion Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press Heavy. So this is the 300 pound instead of 140 pounds. This is some really, really thick, like poster board paper. I can't get my washi tape out because it's still covered in construction dust. So I'm just going to draw some lines. Oh, everything's covered in dust. And I'm allergic. Let's not touch it. Okay, so I'm not going to measure this or anything. We're just gonna eyeball it. And yes, that line is not straight. Okay, it's good enough for today's purposes. So we have 4 different quadrants, and as usual, I'm going to be using my Daniel Smith watercolors. All right, so I need to pick the simplest flower because it's not going to be about the flower today. It's going to be all about the background. So, and I will be talking a little bit about what brushes I like to use on the background as well, because I think that makes a difference. Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go with a simple, should we do a daisy? I think we should do a daisy. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to be using a Princeton Aqua Elite long round size 6 for my flowers. And for the background, depending on what kind of background we're doing, I really love using a mop brush. They hold a lot of water. They can cover a lot of surface very quickly. This is a Tintoretto number 8. And I really, really enjoy this. I think it's beautiful as well. It needs a bath. It's definitely dirty. And then this is a Neptune, Princeton Neptune, half-inch oval wash. And this is another one I really like to use for backgrounds. So let's start with a flower really quick. I'm feeling like pink today. I don't know why, but we're gonna do like pink daisies. I'm just gonna do one daisy though. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to waste too much time on the flower. So I'm just going to quickly paint a daisy. Again, not really focused too much on the flower today, but it is part of the painting, so. Okay. All right, so we have a little pink daisy. All right, there we go. It's kind of cute. Okay, so background number 1 is going to be the simplest, the quickest, the most user-friendly, but also so much fun. I like to do this to a lot of my paintings. And it's the splatter background. And if you don't know how to splatter watercolor paint, I'm going to show you now. You probably do, but let's get some paint here. So I'm going to take the pink that I used. I believe this is Rose Madder by Daniel Smith. And we get some paint, and then we need lots of water on the brush. So all you're going to do, there's several different ways you can splatter the paint. You can use your finger on the brush. I don't really like doing that, but I just tap the brush like that. And if you want bigger drops, get more water on your brush and you will have bigger drops. And a lot of times I like to use both of the colors, or at least 2 of the colors. So I'll put a little bit of green in there as well. So there it is. That was the quickest, most simple background ever. Let me see here. There you go. Splatter background. Daisy with splatter background. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Actually what I'm going to do real quick. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do where I paint the background first. So we're going to stick with the same colors because I want to kind of comparison side by side with the exact same subject and colors, the different kinds of backgrounds. So I am just going to put a light wash of this pink all over the background. So the page is now wet, and I'm just kind of adding a little bit of color to it. I don't want it to be completely even wash uniform. I think that doesn't make the most interesting background. I don't want it too busy, but I also don't want it like a complete flat wash. And a lot of times I like to put a little bit more depth in the outer portion. Okay. And then I'm going to touch just a little bit of green in the background as well, since we can pull in that green from the leaves. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. While that's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the other two flowers, and then we'll come right back to do those backgrounds. Okay, so I've painted those flowers. So we have splatter, we have background first. This one is going to be painting a background around it, so that needs to dry. This one's gonna be my drip background. So this is the one that I personally love, and I put it in the bottom corner because I'm gonna tilt the paper and drip the paint down. So again, I'm gonna use the mop brush. Let me see if I can put my paint down here. So we can go here. All right, so what I'm going to do is get quite a bit of water and get a little bit of that pink. I'm going back into the water again, swiping off a little bit of the excess on the cup, and then I'm going to dab that water and then turn the page, and sometimes I tap the page or tap it like that to make the water drip. And I will kind of go back and forth and just play and move, and if there's too much pigment you can easily pick it up, and you kind of just mess around until you're happy with it. And a lot of times I don't like seeing just like brush blobs, so I'll take a not clean but a wet brush that still doesn't have any additional paint on it and kind of blend those in. And I'm bleeding some of these flower petals out on purpose. And like you see the leaf down here, it got water and it dripped. So I do this when this is still wet. And a lot of times I will go back and put more details in the flower after, but I really, really like the way this looks. I think I need a touch of green up here to kind of balance out, and maybe up here as well. And then I'm going to tilt that, let that green drip. No, it's hard, you can't see when it's tilted, sorry. Let it drip, kind of tap the paper. There's a blob of water right here that I want to drip, so I'm gonna touch it, get clean water and just put water there, make it drip. There we go. So I will go back and forth and play. Sometimes I'll add more pigment, but the classic signs of this background are obviously the drips that you see at the end of it. So there is the drip background, and a lot of times I will combine the splatter and the drip background. So I will do this, and then I'll go back in and get pretty wet paint and splatter as well. Oops, I don't want to get it on that background. So we have just a little bit of splatter in our drip. So there is my preferred background for painting. Let's see, is this dry enough? Okay, I think it's still damp, but I think it's dry enough that we can put the flower on. So let me try that. Okay, so let's paint this pink daisy. And when you're painting on paper that is damp or paper that is wet, the less water you have in your brush, the less it will move into the existing wet paint. I'm not saying that you can eliminate completely bleeding, because there's some light bleeding here, but if your paintbrush is really wet, it's going to move a lot further. So get a thicker consistency of paint, less water on your brush, and you won't have as much of that bleeding. Okay. All right, so there is that. All right, so the last background, it's got a little bit of splatter on it here and there, but for this one, we're gonna go in with clean water first. So I'm going to wet the background, trying to get close to the flower, but I'm not getting in all the nooks and crannies yet. And keep in mind, doing these different backgrounds, you can also, like I did with this one, do combinations of all of these. So if you want to start with a light wash and then go in with another wash of background color on top of it, you can. Or if you want to do this and splatter, or if you want to do this and drip, like you can do combinations of these different backgrounds. Okay, so now that the page is wet, where the background is, let's see if I tilt it. Can you see can you see the wet surface? I don't know if you can. It's really hard for me to tell on this little screen. Okay, so for this background, I guess we'll stick with pink, so I'm not changing it up too much, but we're gonna take some pink and I'm just gonna scribble it in that water. And since the page is wet, it will blend out seamlessly. So there's two ways you can do when it comes to approaching your flower. You can get your brush where you have clean water and just blend that edge out to where it's like barely color, or you can go in more defined with darker color. I find this is a little bit easier. If you wash your brush off, take off most of the water and just kind of blend out the edges instead of going in super, super detailed. So once you have your initial wash, you can add more color wherever you want it. Just play around, add color, add water, whatever you're wanting your background to look like. In this case, I think I'm going to do darker around the edges and kind of fade in. And I, of course, will add in a little bit of green. There we go. And this brush is really good for doing the backgrounds because you can get a pretty good wash with it, but it also comes to a nice point. So if you're wanting to get in around and get fine details, this brush will do that as well. So there they are, the 4 different backgrounds. We have splatter, we have background before, we have background after, and we have the drip background. So with this one, now that it's dried, it's a lot lighter, and I would not consider this one to be done. So I would go back in and do a second layer of drip, and a lot of the paintings that I've done this with, I do 2 to 3 layers of dripping depending on what it is looking like and what I'm wanting. So yeah, and don't be afraid to go over your petals with the light amount of this paint because you want it to kind of blend in. You don't want it to look like a separate painting. So don't be afraid to get up close. And drip. So, and like I said, sometimes I will go in and I kind of wash some of the details away when I do this. And sometimes I want it to be washed away. That's part of the style, but you can add more details after. Anyways, that is going to wrap up this video on watercolor backgrounds. I would love to know if you do a different type of background. Let us know in the comments below what your go-to is. Stay tuned. I have a video coming where I'm going to be testing out, I think, 14 different brands of the same color. So I have chosen sap green, and if this goes well, I will turn it into a series where I test these exact same brands for different colors. So be on the lookout for that. And if you're interested in that series, please let me know and let me know what colors you'd want to see next. It is quite pricey for me to do this because I bought 14 different tube paints of one color. But if it is worth it, if y'all enjoy it, then I will maybe do one a month. If budget allows. So anyways, that is it for this video though. If you did enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you want to see our future videos, hit that subscribe button down below and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Am I recording? Yes. Ah. Circus afro, circus afro. I need to wash my brushes.